Good afternoon, Devin. It is 12:22 p.m. I don't know the date, so on March 5th, 2017. Let's get into the questions. So you asked me first and foremost why I was at maintenance calories while trying to bulk, because those two things don't line up. I am in a maintenance calorie right now. I am at maintenance calories right now because I want to see how my body reacts to the ketogenic diet alone, aside from just bulking. So right now at maintenance calories, I'm losing weight. I'm seeing if that'll plateau at maintenance calories before I start bulking. Plateau meaning my weight loss stops at a certain point. That'll give me a good idea of like what my what's the word for it? Like what my natural body fat percentage would be at maintenance calories. That is going to determine whether or not this is a long-term sustainable diet, which I kind of am still looking for. I'm trying to find the diet that works for me, that keeps me at a happy, healthy composition for my body. Because dieting from like one thing to the next, I mean, it's okay to experiment with, but ultimately when you're doing these diets, it shouldn't be to gain weight, to lose weight, to gain weight, to lose weight. It should be finding the diet that works best for your lifestyle, that you can actually sustain, keyword sustain, that diet. And that'll help you gain muscle over time, not worrying about having to bulk and cut and bulk and cut, because that honestly is really bad for your health, is changing up how many calories you're having, what type of calories you're putting in your body as far as macronutrient ratios go. Ultimately, you should find something that keeps you at the size that you want to be while still being able to maintain muscle mass and still gain some if that's your goal. That being said, sticking at maintenance calories just to see if my body composition on the ketogenic diet at a resting rate is where I want it to be. If it is, then I will continue to bulk on the ketogenic diet, increasing my calories significantly and seeing how that bulk goes as far as energy levels go, as far as rate of change goes for my muscle mass increase, as far as rate of change for my body fat percentage goes, seeing how quickly those two things go up in relation to each other, because I don't want to gain an immense amount of fat. Like, I don't want to be over probably 16% body fat is going to be my cap for bulking. Yeah, 16% isn't much, and people are like, oh, you're gonna have to put on fat to get that muscle mass, but honestly, that's not worth it to me. I don't want to be at an unhealthy body fat percentage. I want to be able to see myself grow, not just from fat. That kind of goes into my goals and accomplishments. So in summary, I want to get my maintenance calories wired in so I know exactly what those are. See what my body composition looks like at those maintenance calories, and then slowly start bulking, seeing how my body weight and composition change in relation to each other, to see if I'm going to be happy with this diet in the long run. Going into your diet a little bit, my last cut, I was actually I wasn't doing a ketogenic diet per se, but I was lower on the carbs, and I was doing like my targeting of carbohydrates around my workouts. It worked amazing, and I was actually in ketosis quite a lot with my intermittent fasting and my cardio in the morning that I would do. So I did drop weight fairly quickly, and I was quite happy with the results. I just didn't have the mass that I wanted, so that's why I'm going to be bulking, to put on some mass and to put on that size for quite a long time. I just didn't think that I had like the mass that I wanted, and I just wasn't happy with how I looked while I was cut. I was like borderline starving child cut, but not that low of body percentage, but I could see myself getting to starving child cut if I would have continued to drop weight at the muscle mass size that I was at right now, if that makes sense. Starving child cut. But it gets my point across. And I like the flexible dieting as well. I'm a big fan of it. Layne Norton is actually someone that I have a lot of respect for. He is really big into flexible dieting as far as do what makes you happy. If you're going to be constantly strict with your calories and you're not enjoying yourself, then you're not living, and you need to, again, find something that's sustainable for you that you can live on and be happy with and not be miserable with. You have to maintain like a social balance, and happiness goes a long way as far as health goes. So go ahead and load up on those carbs before your workout. Enjoy that pizza. Please enjoy that pizza. Let me know how it tastes, by the way. But anyways, Layne Norton says as long as 80% of your as long as 80% of your calories are coming from healthy food sources, then you're okay to have those donuts for that last 20% or that pizza for the last 20%. As long as a majority of your diet is healthy, you're going to be healthy. Being restricted all the time on what you can eat and what you can't eat based off of health purposes is just exhausting. It's not good for your state of mind, which you ultimately need to be looking out for, because your mind can control your body, and if you don't have your mind in the right place because you're bored with your diet and all you're eating is like raw broccoli and spinach, which are good things, but they can get old. But if you have those all the time, you're just gonna feel very dull and bland and miserable, and you got to spice it up. No pun intended. But yeah, the biggest advice I could give you during this cut is don't panic if you're not dropping weight in the beginning of the week. Don't make any mid-week changes to your diet. Stay consistent for a week, then look at your averages, then make your adjustments to your calories based off of the weekly change. You're going to have some weeks that are slower than others. You're going to have some weeks that are faster than others. There's too many variables to take into play as far as that goes. So make sure that you stay consistent with it. Don't panic. There's going to be a lot of variable change. Just look at the long run, the long-term change. Also, a good week-to-week average change I would look for is probably around 1 pound to 2 pounds. 2 pounds being a little bit on the edgier side. You might be losing muscle mass at that point. So just keep an eye on that. If you're dropping more than 2 pounds per week, you're probably going to be losing some mass in the process. So be careful with that. Stay patient. Patience is a virtue, especially when dieting. And try to find a flow state. I noticed counting down the weeks for my diet was really, really rough. When I counted the weeks down, it felt so much longer than it really was. I've noticed a lot of people that I'm friends with who compete are actually saying don't count down those weeks. Counting down those weeks kind of puts you in perspective for how much longer you have, and it feels so much longer, as opposed to, I know some competitors that are like, I don't know how many weeks I have left, I'm not paying attention. And that's where you want to be. That's like a flow state, which I've mentioned previously in one of my videos. That's where you don't have to pay attention to what you're doing, and everything's just happening, and it feels like it's going by so much quicker, and then you're like, damn, I just dropped 5 pounds in a couple months, and it wasn't even hard to do. I didn't even have to think about it. Lastly, you asked me about my workout routine. So I'm in the whole goals and accomplishments of gaining mass. That comes a lot from strength. I think I have the bodybuilding side down as far as like muscle connection goes and all of that stuff. I want to put on some strength. And with that strength is going to come some muscle mass, because those are not the muscle fibers that I've been working. I've always been in the higher rep range. I like that pump that we get, that bro pump. Cash me at the gym, how about that? But yeah, I've always been into the bro pump type phase. So I want to work on those muscle fibers that I haven't been hitting for quite a long time. I think I started on like a 5x5 plan when I first started working out, but that was going to the gym like 2 times a week or something and not knowing what I was doing. That being said, I'm going back to the strength phase, and I'm actually working on one of Layne Norton's programs. It's called PH3. It's probably the most customizable plan you can think of as far as cookie cutter programs go. It's based off of power, hypertrophy, and the 3 big lifts, which would be bench, squat, and deadlift. So it's more of an advanced plan. I definitely don't recommend getting into it unless you have your form down tight. That being said, you're going to be working with your 1 rep max percentages, and you're going to be hitting squat and bench, I believe 3 times per week, and deadlift twice per week. And then you're hitting some upper body and lower body days for twice per week, each of those. So strength upper body, then strength lower body, and then a hypertrophy upper body, and then a hypertrophy lower body, which would be those bro pump days that I talk about. Since you're going for frequency and not you aren't going to be fatiguing your muscles. There's very few times in this program where you're actually going to failure, and those are going to be on your test days, which are in the end of each phase. So basically, the program is set up into 5 days. Your first day is going to be squat, bench, and deadlift. You're going to the gym solely for those 3 exercises, and you're pretty much starting off with like 2 sets of each. But that's because the next day you're going to be hitting upper body, which includes some of your chest, some of your back muscles that you use in deadlift, and then followed by a leg day, including squat and bench lift again. So that's like pretty much a 0 days off from chest. So you're not going to failure on those. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to perform for those following days. I feel a lot more fuller on this program because I'm hitting my muscles so much that I feel like I always have a pump. Not like the absurd actually working out pump, but just a pump in general. Like, I feel fuller. I've gotten a lot of progress from this program times when I've tried it before, but there's always this sticking point, this point where I end up getting sick and getting ill because I'm putting so much work out at the gym and I'm not paying attention to what I'm eating or how my immune system is, because it depletes your immune system once you get into like the higher volume phases. So my goal for this program is to make it all the way through the 13 weeks without getting sick, because those just set me back so far to where I'm pretty much at ground zero again. I've noticed some insane strength changes from this program. Shout out to Layne Norton, they're amazing. It's probably the best program I've ever done. It's very detailed, and you have to follow it to the T. It tells you exactly how much weight to lift for your squat, bench, and deadlift based off of what your maximum is, and then it has test days to see whether or not you're ready to increase the weight, whether your 1 rep max goes up, and whether or not you need to back off and lower your 1 rep max based off of your progress. So it's very realistic, it's very organized, and it's very customizable. I love it, and I'm only 1 phase in. Today's actually my test 1, tells me whether or not I need to up the weight for my next phase, and the phases are split up between like strength phases, which are going to be very, very heavy months, versus very, very low weight months, if that makes sense. So not only are you alternating day by day of the week your strength versus hypertrophy exercises and the rep ranges, but you're also alternating the overall average weight and volume that you're doing from month to month. So stick with me, I'll let you know my strength increases. Right now I'll go ahead and give you a rough estimate. I would say my deadlift is around 1 rep max of 345. I'm gonna say I should be able to pull, I could pull 345. My squat 1 rep max is probably around 245 to 260, and my bench is only around like 190. My bench has always been a weak point. I really want to get that up compared to the other 2 lifts that are considered your power lifts. That's the one that progresses the slowest, and I want to get to 2 plates ASAP because I don't know, I need to get those 2 plates up. This video is getting pretty long, so I think I'm gonna wrap it up here, and let me know what you're doing at the gym for your cutting. Let me know some progress as far as your week to week weight changes go, whether or not you're changing your calories or incorporating cardio, so that way I can kind of see where you're at and give you some more suggestions. I hope the suggestions I gave you were good and that they were actually applicable and practical for you. If you have any more questions about your diet, let me know. If you have any more questions about my workout routine or how my diet's going, let me know. And yeah, just give me some detail on where you're at, your ultimate goal, not just in this cut, but leading up after this cut. Let me know what you're aiming for doing next, your next steps. I'll see you later, Devin.